Hello and welcome to the Gradcracker webinar with Mace. My name is Sophie, I'm a director at Gradcracker and I've been with the business for the last 12 years. I've been working with Mace for the last 10 years and I'm really excited for you all to find out more about them today. I'm also joined by my co-director Jessica, who I'm sure many of you will recognise from previous webinars and the many university presentations she delivers. Jess?
Hello, everyone. Yes, thank you for the introduction, Sophie. My name is Jessica. I'm a marketing director here at Gradcracker, and my role really is to make sure students across the UK that are interested in the world of STEM are aware of our amazing employers that advertise on Gradcracker. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about Mace today and seeing the opportunities that they have open on the site. So thank you, Soph.
Lovely, Jess, thank you. So during today's webinar, our aim is to find out more about Mace, their opportunities and what life is like working there. Starting with our contact Kira, the Emerging Talent Assistant Manager, as I've just discovered, we'll have an introduction to the business and their opportunities. The rest of the panel from Mace will then talk to you about their educational background, their day-to-day roles, what life is like at Mace and their future plans. Towards the end of the webinar, we'll discuss the recruitment process and give you some hints and tips on how to be successful in securing a role with Mace, including some of the individual experiences of the graduates. We also have had some questions submitted by you, our students, so these have been incorporated too. Okay, so let's get started. Kira, could you tell everyone all about Mace, please?
Thanks, Sophie. So, as Sophie said, I'm the Emerging Talent Assistant Recruitment Manager. So I've been with Mace for over 3 years now, and during that time I've been in the same role. So my role is to really do the active recruitment of all the graduates and placements here at Mace. So I attend lots of careers fairs and host assessment centres. So pretty much from when you apply to when you end up joining us, I'm the person who looks after all of that. So a little bit about Mace is we are global consultants in programme and project delivery and construction experts. We help lead the way to a more connected, resilient and sustainable future. Through our 2 business engines, Consult and Construct, we bring to life iconic skyscrapers, state-of-the-art data centres, life science facilities and social infrastructure. The driving force behind our success is our people who, with their collective expertise, push us to think differently and bravely lead the way. Together, we always try to find a way to unleash the potential within every place, project and person, inspiring the stories that shape our lives and change our world, because the ambitions that we chase today will help build the world that we live in tomorrow.
Amazing.
So, sorry, back to you, Sophie.
No, go on.
No, that's probably it for now.
Okay, so thank you for the introduction. Obviously, you've given us a bit of an overview about kind of generally what Mace does and the type of work that you do. But can you tell us a little bit more about some of the projects that you've got ongoing that our students watching today could potentially be a part of if they joined Mace?
Absolutely. So as I kind of just mentioned a moment ago, we work on skyscrapers, data centres, life science facilities and social infrastructure. And I think it can be a little bit obvious in a way when it comes to applying to certain job roles, because it does literally say on the job role what the business or market is that you'll be facing. So we have projects within defence, we have projects within the Ministry of Justice, public sector, so working with schools and things like that. And then you have your more kind of site-based roles, which is more your skyscrapers and some of the iconic buildings that you would have seen in and around London, such as like the Shard, London Eye, that kind of thing as well. It really depends where you are, which bits you'll get involved in, just because different areas work in different places. So for example, like Construct, and we'll probably touch on this again a little bit later, Construct mainly operates in London, whereas our consultancy is global. So for our UK roles, we also operate in Ireland, and a big part of that is more like infrastructure, so the Dublin Metro and some data centres out there as well.
Okay, great. So a huge range of different projects, different
sectors. Yeah, there's probably some that I've missed off as well.
Yeah.
So.
You can't tell us everything. Okay, so can you now just tell us a little bit about the overview of the type of roles that you recruit each year? And again, I know there are many, and those that are currently advertised on the Gradcracker Company Hub.
Yes, so in the past couple of days, we've recently added our summer placements onto the hub. So if anyone is really interested in summer placements, there are about 5, I believe, that are available, and that is across our consultancy and our construction roles. So I think a couple of them are based in Reading and Oxford. Then you also have our other graduate roles, which we also have some apprenticeship roles on there as well. So typical roles that we recruit each year kind of fit into our key service offerings that we have. So we have our 4 centres of excellence, a bit of an internal phrase that we have. So we've got project management, cost consultancy, which is quantity surveying. We also have commercial management, which falls under that as well. We have sustainability, which is always a really popular one. We have bidding, so that's working with our bids team. So that operates in both consultancy and construction. We have construction management as well. We have quality assurance, health and safety. So many that I can't remember the name of all of them, but a lot of the time it's project management, cost consultancy that we're hiring for each year.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kira. And yeah, right now we have a whole range of different graduate programs and summer internships that are advertised on the company hub. And then overall, there are a huge range of different disciplines, different areas, different business areas of Mace that you can work in. So yeah, lots and lots of opportunities, no matter what stage of your degree or whatever your discipline is. So that kind of leads me on to the next question. So as we've kind of discussed, you've got lots of different business areas, lots of different roles, and you recruit across a whole range of different areas. Are you open to all STEM degrees for your roles, or do you have specific roles that require a particular degree? This actually was also a question that was asked by Tom at the University of Bradford, so I thought I'd just tag that onto that question.
Yeah, absolutely. So typically for a lot of our roles, the answer is no, you don't need to have a specific degree or anything like that. It's normally, as long as you can look at the job description and have some form of understanding of what it is, then we're open to everyone, because we know that's how you get the most diverse skill set. So there are some roles that do require specific degrees, and that will always be stated in the job advert. So it's normally in the about you section. So something, for example, that you do need to have a specific degree in is the architecture roles. You need to have a Part 2 REBA accredited degree in order to join our graduate program, which I understand is the second step. Is more of a master's qualification compared to all of our other roles where you don't need that. So I know that can be a little bit challenging if you are finished your degree and you know you want to go into architecture, but you don't quite want to do the second part. Unfortunately, that is something that we do require just based on the bids and the projects that we work on. But when it comes to like construction management and project management and pretty much any other role, the answer is no, they're open to anything. We are always reviewing those requirements as well to see if we're getting, oh, sorry, the light's gone off where I am. If we're getting what we need from those people, and if we do need to broaden it and open it up to more people. So we're always trying to see, are we getting the best people from what we're asking from people?
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's brilliant, because I think that's quite unusual, for the industry, that you can kind of come from any degree background and then, learn it on the job. So I think that's a really great point to get out there for anybody. You could be studying chemical engineering.
Sorry, just to tag on to that as well, because I know we always get a question about a specific degree level. As long as you obtain a degree, it doesn't matter if you get a first, 2-1, a 2-2, or a third. As long as you obtain that degree with honours, then you're good to go and you're good to apply to work with us.
Amazing. That's also great for everybody to know that you're kind of open to so many different degree grades and different degrees to join Mace. So thank you very much for that. Next question is kind of around hybrid working and kind of what that looks like. So following the initial sort of call that we all had last week, I know there are differences in the type of working for different roles and different business areas. Can you explain what roles are full-time on site and others that offer maybe hybrid or flexible working?
Yeah, so again, the easiest way to kind of differentiate the two is if you work in consultancy, you do get a little bit more flexibility about where you're working. And I think Grace, Olivia and Luke will be able to kind of touch on this a little bit later. When it comes to construction, you are expected to be there pretty much 5 days a week, sometimes even weekends. You might, I think different projects have like rotations just because it needs to be, that someone needs to be there on the project every day. Work doesn't stop on the weekends. So you are required to be there. all the time in some roles, but typically with a construction role, you're on site from 7 a.m. and as soon as the sunlight, as soon as it's bright enough, the work begins, and then you probably stay maybe until about 5:30, that kind of thing. It's not one of the ones, the earlier you start, the earlier you finish, because there is always something to be done on a construction site, as you can imagine. But yeah, it just depends where you're based. I think some of our graduates are seconded, so they then work in other client offices. They might be in the Mace office, or they can work from home.
Okay, perfect. So again, a real range, and all of this
Yeah.
information will be available as you progress through the recruitment process and discuss.
We do try to give as much on the job advert as we can. So whether that's you need to be a little bit more mobile for the role, if you're required to travel, that kind of thing. So probably one of my top tips is make sure you actually read the full job role.
Read the job role.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Seems so obvious, but yeah, it has to be said. Because
and I think for the range of roles that you've got and the range of different areas that you could be working, that's so important as well. It's not like there's a standard, this is the job at Mace. There are so many different options that you really do need to have a look through and decide which one's going to be right for you as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So perfect. Thank you so much, Kira. We are going to be coming back to you towards the end of the webinar to run through the recruitment process. But now we are going to meet the rest of the panel from Mace. So we are joined by graduates Olivia, Grace and Geordie, and degree apprentice Luke. So over to you, Jess.
Perfect. Thank you, Sophie. And thank you, Kira. Super interesting and looking forward to hearing more about the application process. But Olivia, I'm going to start with you, if that's okay. Just to do a quick introduction. So where did you go to university and what did you study?
I attended Manchester Metropolitan University and I did sociology with quantitative analysis. So not from a construction background at all.
No. Yeah, and I've got some questions later about that, so I can't wait to hear why Mace was an option for you and how you've used your skills that you've learnt within your degree to apply that to the graduate programme. But next, I want to hear a bit about your current role at Mace. So when did you join and where are you based?
So I joined this recent September and I'm based in their head office in Moorgate in London.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And tell us a bit about your current role then and what that looks like.
So I'm in the local government sector as a project manager trainee. So I'm under the consult engine, and local government has like so many subsectors to it. We've got like housing and regen, arts and culture, sports. So I'm currently on 2 different projects. So one falls under arts, which is the Natural History Museum. So it's a really lovely site to work on.
Yeah,
and then my second project is under sports, which is Fulham Football Club ground.
Fantastic. Again, real variety there.
Yeah, I didn't expect those. And yeah, I've been lucky enough to be on both their sites, like seconded to them, as Kira was saying. So I'm sort of across 3 places, the head office and then the 2 projects.
A lovely mix and a really great way to really kind of spread your wings and get that experience. So, Olivia, fantastic. Thank you so much for that introduction. Like I said, we're going to come back to you a little bit later on to find out why Mace was an option for you and to hear a bit more. So thank you for that. Grace, I'm going to come to you next. Similar kind of questions. So if you could just tell us where you went to university as well and what you studied.
So I went to the University of Nottingham and I studied architecture.
Fantastic. And could you also tell us a bit about your role at Mace and when you joined and where you're based?
So I joined, same as Olivia, in September, this September that's just passed, 2024. I'm based in Birmingham, but I'm between the Birmingham Mace office and the client office in Birmingham.
Okay. So you get to spend some time there. That's interesting. I didn't realise that would be an option as well. That's great.
So I'm mainly based in the client office and then I do 1 day a week in the Mace office in Birmingham.
Okay.
And my current role, so I'm similar to Olivia, but I'm doing construction management in the consultancy sector. So I'm seconded to Network Rail. So I'm working as a part of one of their asset protection teams. So it's all to do with HS2. But it's quite nice because obviously HS2 is a massive deal in Birmingham, and Mace are actually building the Curzon Street station. So there's a lot of interface within Mace Consultancy and Mace Construct, because even though I'm with the consultancy, I have to work with the Construct people because they're building HS2 station. So
Wow.
it's a
So
nice
again, a lot of
crossover.
crossover in your role as well, isn't there? And how have you founded that? Again, and Olivia, you might want to add to this as well, but quite early on then in your career, then, getting to grips with Mace, but then, really quite early on working with clients and then even being in their offices and understanding how their dynamic works. How have you found that?
I think it's been quite nice. Like you've kind of thrown in at the deep end. Like you just have to
Yeah.
learn. Like, and I'm much more of a person that prefers to like just get on with it and learn that
Yeah.
way, rather than being like handheld as such. Like, don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, like everyone is so supportive. Like I have Mace people in my team in the client office, so there's like always like Mace managers and directors there to support me.
Yeah.
But it's quite nice to also work with a client and actually get that consultancy experience.
Yeah. It's like the best of both worlds, really, isn't it? Are you,
Yeah.
do you find the same, Olivia?
Yeah, I agree. And I think like it sort of speeds up your like learning because it's like I've got three lots of experience constantly at the same time. Like I've got three management styles that I'm like learning. So yeah,
Mm.
it's been really good, really
Mm.
beneficial.
Really excited. Brilliant. Thank you for that, guys. Geordie, I'm going to come to you next. Again, similar kind of questions. So where did you go to university and what did you study?
So I went to the University of Wolverhampton
Yep.
and I studied quantity surveying. So
Yep.
pretty construction based, as you can tell.
Yep.
Unfortunately, my projects aren't as exciting as Olivia's. I'm just currently building commercial offices.
Okay.
So we've recently just constructed 101 Moorgate, which is just on the other side of 155.
Okay.
So our PC day, I think, is supposed to be today.
PC
So,
date. Geordie, what
oh,
does that
sorry,
mean?
project completion. So we should be finished on site today. So
Right. Okay.
that's why I've been based at 155 for the last like couple months.
And how's it looking? Is it all going to get completed today or do you still have a bit of a snag list?
Well, the construction is definitely complete. So there's just
Brilliant.
some, yeah, there's little snags here and there, but
Yeah.
as for if the client's happy, then we're happy, isn't it? So
Perfect.
yeah.
And how long have you been in this role for? I'm sorry, when did you join?
All right. So I joined 2023 September.
Okay, so been there
Yeah,
a little while now.
exactly. So I'm a commercial manager. So I'm
Yeah,
based in the private sector.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And your current role then, has that been your role since you joined, or have you had a bit of a variety of positions until now?
Uh, well, so I joined at 101 Moorgate when it was
Hmm.
on like phase 2 or something like that. So
Right, yeah,
I've seen it basically from a baby to a full grown adult.
yeah,
Um, in terms of my roles, I think it just got more, I was given more responsibility. So I've been able to grow in exactly the same project and kind of look back and see the growth and stuff like that of how I started and how
yeah.
I've ended.
Yeah, and that is really sweet how you do refer to it as, a baby in the sense, you've been so heavily involved in it by the sounds
Yeah,
of it.
exactly.
And to
Yeah.
see it grow at the different stages, you must be super proud, especially today, to say that you're at completion day, to think, look back and think what you've achieved over that time. It must be
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, 100% because when I first joined, it was just foundation. So to
Mm.
actually see an actual building as you're going up the levels, stuff like that. There wasn't a level 2 at one point, and you were only stuck on ground floor. So now we've
Yeah.
got, I think, 9 floors and terraces. So it is quite nice to see. Yeah,
Yeah, so like I say, slightly different to Grace and Olivia in terms of the spread of projects, whereas you've got the pleasure of seeing the depth of a project, haven't you?
exactly. Yeah.
Grow with it, which is really interesting. And for you, Jodie, thinking about that, and the kind of next steps then in terms of when the project finishes, where do you decide where you're going to go next? How does that work for you?
Well, you can either have a say on like what type of experience you want to have next. So I've actually asked if I can start a project because I didn't start this one. I
Okay.
was put in when it was already started, so in the middle of the project. So I want to be able to get into PCSA, so that's like contract works and stuff like that. But that's
Okay.
also mainly to help me achieve my RICS chartership as well. So get some more
Mhm.
experience in that because I'm
Okay.
very much experienced in the cost side of things, tendering, procurement and valuations and stuff.
Yeah.
But as for writing the contracts, I could get a bit more, you know.
Fantastic. Yeah, sounds good. We're going to hear a bit more about that later on. So thank you so much, Jodie, for the introduction. Perfect intro there. And Luke, last but not least, you've got a slightly different journey ahead of you. I always get super excited to speak to someone who's doing a degree apprenticeship to find out what your career journey is looking like. So yeah, similar kind of questions to start with. What is your degree apprenticeship, and you know, what are you working towards the end of it?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on today, Jess. Hello, everyone.
Welcome.
So my first year apprentice at Mace, doing project management. So I'm working 4 days a week, and then 1 day a week I'm at university studying for my degree in construction management. I joined the business in September, so I've been here for 7 months now, and I joined straight after my A levels. I'm working in the London office. So I've got Olivia here next to me, sitting next to me today. And yeah, I'm
You got to
enjoying
do
it
that
so
question.
far. Yeah,
Oh, that's nice.
very good.
So, Luke, tell us a bit about, you know, maybe, you know, why Mace? Why did Mace initially kind of attract you to apply for their degree apprenticeship? And yeah, what have you been up to so far?
Yeah, exactly. At the moment, I'm working in the education team, so the clients of the Department for Education, and we're building schools, which is really nice to have a good impact on sort of students, and you can really add value to society in that way. I just thought Mace really interested me because we work on lots of iconic projects across London. We built the Shard, the Olympic Park, building HS2 at the moment, so there's a lot you can get involved with from an early point, which is really positive.
Yeah, and I can definitely see why Mace would be attraction. And I always just think it's great. And I hope you don't mind me saying this, and I don't mean this in a patronising way at all, but someone who is, you know, just finished their A levels, it is so hard going through the experience myself, thinking, what do I want to do? And what are my options that are out there? And it's really great that you know, got to experience Mace, and you've got onto the opportunity that you've got onto, because yeah, you will have a fantastic career ahead of you with Mace, and you'll do some fantastic stuff. So it's really interesting to hear why. But to go back a bit of a step, so you mentioned a bit about your kind of how you split your week. So 1 day of the week you're going to university, the rest of the week you're on your project and you know, at work as such. How does that work, and how do you manage your time, and how do you find that, and where do you even go to university, and how do you split your time?
Yeah, sure. So to start off with, my university is all online, so I can do that 1 day a week from home, which is good. So I'm normally in the office about 4 days a week, and then again, home working. So it's nice to have the balance of being hybrid. Obviously, it's quite busy studying and working at the same time, and then going out with your colleagues and socializing and so on. So it's really important to sort of stay organized with your work so you don't fall behind.
And I think that's the thing, learning those kind of softer skills as well, isn't it? You know, getting organised, being able to balance it. And do you feel as though, Luke, you've got that support then, and you've had that since September?
Yeah, definitely. And that's another perk of working at Mace, the support system around us. So we have our line manager, our buddy, and then emerging talent from Mace. And we also have an apprenticeship coordinator from our university. So we have those 4 points of contact around us to provide us support throughout our journey, which is really helpful.
Yeah, brilliant. Perfect stuff. Again, we're going to come back to you a little bit later on to find out a little bit more. But Olivia, I'm going to come back to you and to find out really a bit about why. Why was Mace an option for you? Again, doing the degree subject that you studied in, what initially attracted you to Mace?
It wasn't until like my second year of my university where we covered a unit on like social infrastructure and like how it like impacts your life, and obviously looking at the trends and the outcomes it has. So social infrastructure could be like hospitals, schools, libraries, museums, anything like that. And I was really, really interested in it, but I thought, God, I've nearly finished my degree. Have I done the wrong degree? Like, do I need to now go and do a construction degree? And then it wasn't until I came across Mace's program where I saw that they take, as long as you're passionate about the built environment industry, they offer you 2 years to sort of bridge that knowledge and train you. So yeah, that was definitely it. And then looking back at their previous projects in the sector were amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And for you, was it that driver because of the big projects that they get involved in? Like Kira mentioned, the shark,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. Yeah. No, I can definitely see why. So Olivia, sticking with you a little bit more. So tell us a bit more then about your current project. So you've said already a real mix of projects that you're working on, but again, how do you split your time and how's that looking for you?
So like time, typically your time on a project will like change depending on like the project stage. So right now my project at the Naturalist Museum is due to finish in like 2 months. So my time's sort of reduced on that project and grown on the other one as it
Okay.
comes to close out. So I do 1 day a week with them. So I do 1 day in their, I was there this morning in their office, and then I'm 4 days a week at Fulham. So because I'm on the like site container, I'm there pretty much every time. So at the moment I don't really come into the head office, but I'm still trying to like at least for half a day in the afternoon just
Yeah.
to keep it familiar. But yeah.
So Olivia, because you traveling around so much, how do you manage your time? And again, do you get that support that maybe Luke gets as well in terms of knowing what you should be doing, when you should be doing, and prioritizing certain work? Do you get that support from your team?
Yeah, definitely. Like as a graduate, you still get a buddy. So that will be someone
Yeah.
who has like done the graduate scheme or apprenticeship as well, who's like
Yeah.
maybe a year or two ahead of you. And that's a really great point of contact to have if you have something like time management or not necessarily a project-based question. You can
Mhm.
sort of go to them and get like just like have a casual conversation of, do you have any tips of how to manage this or speak to? And
Yeah.
then I have a check-in with my line manager once a week. And they're
Yeah.
so open to like, if you are struggling to balance your time on two projects, maybe reduce one or the other. So yeah, that's always up for discussion as long as you express how you're coping with it.
Absolutely. And again, it's so great that you've got that support because again, you're
Yeah,
doing so many different things, aren't you? So yeah, it's really good that you feel as though you can speak to people and ask, am I doing the right thing? So yeah, perfect. Thank you so much for that, Olivia. Grace, I'm going to
okay.
come to you next in terms of can you tell us more a bit about the particular graduate scheme that you're on and the work that you've been doing since you joined in September as well?
Yeah. So like Olivia just said, it's a 2-year graduate scheme that we're on. So I'm currently in my first year.
Yeah.
Um, and for like our 2 years, we've got to get chartership.
I was
It's
going to
all
ask about
funded.
that. Glad you've said that. Yes.
It's all funded by Mace, like, and we kind of like they host a few months ago, they hosted like lots of different calls where we could like learn about the charterships and things. So like
Yeah.
we had the opportunity to do RICS, project management or the CIOB. So
Hmm.
I chose CIOB.
Yeah.
And essentially you complete your chartership and then at the end you'll be chartered, which is always a positive, isn't it?
And
And
Um,
Grace, sorry, I'm just going to jump in here. CIOB, for those that don't know,
oh,
stands
sorry,
for.
Chartered Institute of Building.
Thank you.
And it basically gives you an accreditation.
Mhm.
Um, and with that as well, I got a mentor from Mace. So I still have a line manager, a buddy, but
Mhm.
as well, I have now a mentor that's a part of Mace. So he's not only going to help me with my CIOB, but he also just helps me on day to day. Like if I have a question, I can go to him if my line manager's not available or my buddy doesn't know. So it's just like another
Yeah.
point of contact, which is really useful to have. Um,
Yeah. Definitely.
Regarding the project, I think I explained quite a bit of it earlier, but there's been a lot of traveling with my um, the project I'm on because obviously HS2 is London to Birmingham at the moment.
Yeah.
And you've kind of got to cover it all. Like the team I'm in is the entire route. So I've done lots of
Okay.
site visits, like mainly based around Birmingham, but there's
Mhm.
occasional weeks where we have to go down to London to look at Euston or to look at a bit of the route, like in the Chilterns or wherever. So it's been really
Mhm.
like eye-opening in a way, like
Yeah.
just to see like at different stages of a project because loads of like some of it's nearly complete and some of it's they're
Yeah.
still doing groundwork. So
Right.
it's
Okay.
been really
Yeah.
nice to see that as such.
And Grace, so how long will you be on this project for?
Um, so I initially was seconded to Network Rail for three
Yeah.
months,
Yeah.
and it was kind of like Network Rail gets to decide if they want to keep you or not after the 3 months. Like if
Right.
you're doing well, they'll keep you on, and if they don't have a job for you or like the role's closed,
Right.
Mace would essentially put you onto another project.
Yeah.
But Network Rail said they wanted me, which was
Of
always
course they did.
positive.
Absolutely. Oh, that's good. And then, but could you, so say for example, they've obviously offered you that, but for what period of time then? Is that then again until they say to actually, no, we don't need you now, or until you
Yeah,
maybe decide you
until
want to do something?
yeah, I think it's both. Like,
Okay.
because essentially Network Rail pays a fee for me, so it's until they don't want to pay for me anymore, or until I say to my line manager, maybe like I want to move projects.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. It's nice again that you've got that option. You could do
Yeah.
it, Geordie, in the sense of get, your teeth into it, really see it from start to finish, or actually, at this early stage of your career, why not, diversify and see different projects? So it's really good
Yeah.
that you've got that option. Geordie, I'm
Sorry,
going to.
sorry, that's something that I was just going to ask there, because obviously you've started now your career in construction management, coming from an architecture background, and you're now working on a rail construction project. So is that something now that you've kind of got that rail construction experience? Will that be an industry or projects that you continue to work on, or are you then after this going to be able to kind of go and start completely fresh on another sector? What would you think you'd want to do?
I don't know. I have initially, when I was first joining rail, I was like, oh my God, like this is really intense. Like rail is nothing like I'm used to. Like there's all these acronyms. Like I was joining meetings and I had no idea what was going on. And I was like, oh, I don't know if this is for me. Like this is really hard. But actually, like I really enjoy it. But I still think at the same time, I would love to work on like an actual building as such. Like I feel like coming from an architecture background where I've been designing buildings for 3 years, to then just leave that all behind and like do like train tracks.
Yeah.
I think I still would enjoy to maybe change projects in like a few years.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I'm happy in rail. I think it's, as much as it was full on, it's really interesting.
I bet it's so fascinating, especially working on a
Yeah.
project like HS2. But yeah, that's and it's great that you've got the flexibility to then, after say another year or so, look at doing a different project. And that's the benefit of working for an organization that like Mace, that's just got so
Yeah.
many different arms to it, so many different things going on all the time. So yeah, that's great. Sorry for jumping in there, Jess.
Sorry, can
No,
I
it's
just
a
add
really good
something?
question.
Sorry,
Can I
Kira.
just add something to it? So, one thing that obviously it's amazing all the different areas that we do offer, and it is kind of what happens with Grace, so that either they kind of end your contract or you look for something else, but it does also really depend on business need. So there has to be an opportunity within another area for you to be able to move into. So it's not sometimes not as quick and easy as just going, oh, I want to work in here now, because there has to be an opportunity available, there has to be a project, there has to be, it's all about kind of fee earning. So it really does depend on the timing and everything like that. So I just thought I'd add that point, not in the sense that you can just jump around to loads of different areas. It does depend on the business and the time.
The reality
I
of it,
think so. Like as much as you like just can't just jump ship, like at least in the Birmingham office, like all the sectors are literally in the office together, like we're all on one floor together. So you get so much like exposure to like I sometimes
Build
just
your
sit next to
connections.
Ministry of Justice and like I get to hear about the prisons they're building and I'm like, whoa. So like it's nice, even if you can't be in that project, you can still hear about it.
And you can still get experience outside of that because you've kind of got it on your doorstep with the people that you're working with.
Yeah, you can go and ask, hey, what's going on there? Tell us a bit about it.
Interesting. Yeah.
Give us a bit of the down there. I will be definitely using Grace and Olivia yourselves as almost a case study, encourage the students that I'm speaking to on a daily basis to re-listen to this, because it's something that, as Gradcracker, we talk about a lot, don't we, when we're speaking to our students that use the site, don't we? So if about, yes, you could be doing this degree, but where your degree could take you and where you could be in 2 years, a year time, 5 years time, it could be completely different. So again, it's making sure any student that's interested in the world of STEM, think outside the box. Don't just pigeonhole yourself. Great if you, a bit like Geordie, you knew the kind of the career, the route that you wanted to go down. But yeah, it's
No,
thinking,
that's
what do I
not
do?
true. No, no, no.
Oh, is it not?
No, I didn't actually want to end up in construction, funny enough.
Did you not? What did you
No.
want to do?
I actually wanted to be a lawyer.
Really?
Yeah.
What made you do a QS degree then?
Because my dad's in construction, I
Right.
just thought, let me do something that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd fall back on that if anything happens. So yeah, here I am.
There you
Oh,
are.
Probably
something
got there a
happened.
bit quicker than law.
Exactly, yeah.
Geordie, I was going to ask you a question about traveling because when we did our prep session, you obviously mentioned that you were going to come to the end of this project. You've said today is the final day and what life would look like after you've finished. But again, you've got to go where the business is and the next project will take you. But
Yeah.
you've got to be quite flexible as well with where that could take you across the UK, isn't it? So yes, you're based here now, but potentially you could be based somewhere else on the next project. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah. So they could allocate me to a project
Yeah.
anywhere in London because it would only be
Anywhere
based
in
in
London.
London. Yeah, it would be just anywhere in London. But right now they haven't. I'm the only person in my team that doesn't know where they're going.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
still waiting.
And where do you, this is a bit of a hard question, and I did warn you all that I'm going to come up with these random questions and maybe put them your way. And this is going to be a classic one, John, but where do you see yourself then in the next kind of, few years with Mace? A bit like Olivia and Grace said, they can get that experience of going to different things. Is it same with you then? Can you kind of pick where your interest
Um,
in projects
what
or?
for me personally, I
Yeah.
think I really just enjoy the commercial side.
Do you? Yeah.
Because obviously that's what my degree is also based on, and I've always enjoyed like the cost side of the business. If I was to go anywhere, I think it'll be consultancy, but still cost.
Yeah.
But as for now, I still really enjoy the construction side of it because, like I said, seeing something grow is always like a pat in the back once it's done, isn't it?
Yeah, I can imagine that.
So
Yeah.
just to add on
Imagine.
to Geordie's point there, so he mentioned earlier that he currently kind of works in like offices and stuff like that. We have other business units such as like public sector and life sciences. So that could be anything like building hospitals, building museums and stuff like that. And then you've also got the other areas such as data centers. So as much as he's in the area he is, if he wanted an exposure to a different type of project, that
Yeah.
opportunity is definitely there. Or even if he wanted to move into consultancy, that option's there. Like even if like Grace wanted to move into construct, that option's always there as well.
Yeah.
And that's kind of
100%.
like the really good benefit of having two arms of a business that operate the
Yeah.
full life cycle.
Hmm.
I just thought I'd
Yeah.
add that point.
No, perfect. Brilliant. I'd rather you guys talk than me. So you keep going. Luke, I'm going to come to you next. I want to hear about what's going on in your world. So again, in your introduction, you mentioned how you kind of split your time. But yeah, tell us a bit what life is like for you. And do you have a typical day? Or is every day different?
Yeah, every day is different. That's what I love. Day in the life of an apprentice is unpredictable. But every week is busy. That's the only sort of certainty we really get. At the moment, I'm quite focused on my university work. So it's quite a busy month. I've got several assignments due in. So that's really ramping up at the moment. And then after that, I have a bit of a break and I think I'll focus more on my day job, as it were.
Yeah.
I think other aspects of working for Mace Consult is the sort of site visit opportunities we have available to us. So I can ask my colleagues, can I come and visit a construction site with you? And that's really interesting to have exposure to different
Yeah.
elements of the construction industry.
Yeah.
I think another point is internally, you get a real sense that your colleagues want to support you and our managers and more senior members of the team want to support us. So as an apprentice, we have breakfast with the leaders.
Okay.
A couple of weeks ago, we had sort of a breakfast get together with our chief exec, and we were able to ask him questions and have a bit of an open forum. So it's really nice from the top down. They're looking to develop the apprentices and they're looking to develop the next generation of talent.
Again, it's great that they're putting that investment into people like yourself and seeing you as the kind of future leaders of the business. Luke, again, going off piece slightly, but just out of interest, what was kind of the early stages of the degree apprenticeship like for you? The first few days, how did you manage that, and how did you again, 'cause it's such a transition, isn't it, from
Yeah.
school, college, doing your A levels to then, doing a full-time job. How did you find that, and how did Mace support you with the first few
Well,
weeks?
the transition was very smooth. We started off with a big orientation. So all of the
Okay.
grads, all of the apprentices of the cohort came together in London, where we were able to meet everyone in the business. And I've
Yeah.
got friends that work in the Bristol office, in the Winchester office, in the Manchester office. So it's nice to have that network. Um, on a side note, as part of the apprenticeship scheme, we have development sessions. So
Yeah.
pretty much once a month will be all the apprentices gathering together, and there'll be a training session on commercial awareness or business
Yeah.
writing or how to write a business report and so on. So it's nice to have that development aspect of things. But to answer your question a bit more directly, Jess, it was nice to come in and meet all of my colleagues, and all of my colleagues were
Yeah.
very friendly. Yeah.
Well, that's good, because I was going to ask, is there much crossover with you and the grads? But it seems as though there is. Yeah,
Mm.
you're with them a lot, which is nice. And like you mentioned, you and Olivia are in the same office, which is great. So you are getting that exposure. And Olivia, Grace, going to come back to you. And again, similar kind of question in terms of any students now that are listening to this thinking, oh, I'd be interested in applying to Mace. But what's, again, the first few weeks like for you? And what was that transition like? Was it quite smooth, like Luke mentioned, or did you have any different experiences?
Yeah, so we
Olivia, go
us graduates were at those orientation days as
for it. Yeah.
well. So again, it was just a huge big mix, and it was over 2 days of like an event where we did like sort of informal networking. We had speakers from like the exec boards come in. We had people who've finished the graduate and apprenticeship scheme give us like top tips and
Oh, that's
talk about
nice.
their experience.
Yeah.
So we just got like a well-rounded like 48 hours of just everything to do with the business as a short like snapshot of what to expect for the 2 years, which was really great. And again, got to meet people from all different sectors, construction consult offices, who we'll always have in our cohort, which was really nice to start off at that level, like all together.
Yeah. And I'm guessing, Grace, that was, you felt the same in that
Yeah,
experience.
no, that I've met Olivia at that as well.
Oh, did you?
So
Yeah, nice.
and like obviously Birmingham and London, like you're not in the same office. So it was really nice because London's the main office for like all the offices to come down and actually meet.
Yeah.
Because like we, like Luke said, they have their degree, their apprenticeship sessions. We have graduate sessions.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
like
nice. Yeah.
we'll all go down to London and have like a big session, and like we'll be in random groups. But like you met people in your first few days at work that like it's just like, oh hi, like you're in my group.
Yeah.
Like not with my friends like from my office, but like I know you from that. So it's
Yeah.
quite nice in that way.
Yeah, that's nice. And it's nice that, again, you get those chances to network because you're all in it together, really, aren't you? Going through similar things and similar stages in your career. So it's really good. And Geordie, I'm going to end with you, if that's okay. Because I like to know what's going on in, social lives and, has May supported you in any way in terms of networking groups, any societies or things like that you've been involved in? Apart from doing your 75 hard, which me and Sophie obviously are very old school because I didn't even know what I've had was. Apart from doing that.
I would say there are a lot of networking groups within Mace, for all shapes and sizes, colors, etc. I'm not particularly part of one just
Okay.
yet, but Mace do they do recommend for everyone to join one. So you have EDAM. Is it EDAM? Yeah,
Eden, I think. Actually, it's changed to Eden. Definitely.
Eden.
No,
Right.
no, that is right. Edam. Yeah, it used to
Yeah,
be Eden. They've changed the name to
yeah.
Edam.
And I think there's one for like parents and stuff like that, military service, etc., etc. So there are a lot of ways that you can network outside of your current business or your current sector. For example, I was picked to be on the panel to present at Grace and Olivia's session for when they first came.
Oh,
I don't know if
really?
I don't know if they remember, but yes, I just had to say talk about my experience in May so far, etc. and stuff like that. So there are plenty of opportunities for people to do. For example, Mace give everyone one volunteering day a year, mandatory volunteering day, so everyone gets involved and stuff like that. So yeah, it's really good.
Ah, perfect. Well, thank you so much for that, guys. A brilliant intro to what life is like at Mace. But so if I'm going to hand back to you now, because we're going to find out a bit more about the application process from you and Kira, aren't we?
We are indeed. Thank you very much, Jess, and thank you everyone for giving us an overview of your experiences. Kira, before we move on to the application process, I'm going to throw a question in that wasn't in planned. But obviously we've talked about the graduate programme being 2 years.
Yeah.
At the end of that 2-year programme, what happens at that stage? Do the graduates move into a permanent role, or is there still some flexibility on career
Yeah.
at that stage?
So on the job advert, you will see as soon as you sign a contract with us for a graduate or an apprenticeship program, you get a permanent role. There's no, we'll see how you perform after your 2 years. We don't even have probation at Mace. We don't even have 6-month probation or anything like that. So as soon as you sign a contract, you're a permanent employee. And then once you finish the graduate program, this is something that we're working on, is creating more of like an alumni network. So it doesn't feel like you've had all this support for 2 years and then you're just in the business and it's like, well, what if I need help with this and what if I need help with that? Like we're creating that pipeline of future leaders. So we need to kind of create that bridge between those two instances, because it's not as if you finish a grad program and it's like, oh, great, you're perfect, you can go be a manager now. So we're looking at creating more of that alumni network where we get those who have been on the program involved in stuff that people are on program with. And we also try and like, I mean, I try to get people who've done the program to be part of the assessment centres as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's really helpful for them to understand what it's like to be in an assessment centre. So there is definitely that opportunity. But when you do your and at the end of each year you do presentations. So Geordie would have done them last year. It's like group presentations, and you do it's called the grad project, and you get put in randomly, kind of like similar to what Gary said. You'll get put with people. This is global as well. You get put with people in our global hub, so you have to work around time zones, and you have to work together, and then you present, and then if you win, you I'm not sure, it's a cash prize. I'm not sure how much it is because I think it's changed, but you basically present it to the board, and if they want to, they can go ahead with your idea. So I think it's really important. Sorry, someone's calling me. So that's a really good way to kind of build your connections and kind of understand like what's happening between the two. But it is something we are working on. We haven't kind of got it perfected at the moment, but it is something. And we always say like we're so close to everyone on program. It's not as if you finish and you can never talk to us again. We'll always be there to kind of give advice to people if they need it and stuff like that. So it's definitely not like, oh, goodbye, never see you again. Because like you say, you always see each other around the office. You'll always see them recruiting for new people and stuff like that. So
yeah, and I think that's come across when we've been talking to everyone today, is that the level of support that you get on the programme, and just generally from colleagues and other people in the business, you know, it is great. And like you said, it's not like that's just disappears after the 2 years. It's still going to be there. So that's great. Thank you, Kira. So we will move on to the application process now. So as I've mentioned, you have a whole range of roles currently advertised on your company hub on Gradcracker. So when the students click on that apply now link on the job description from the company hub, what are the next steps from there?
So they are going to have an opportunity to read through the job advert one final time. Then they are going to submit an application form. So we try and keep it as simple as possible. We're not asking for details that we don't need from you. We're just kind of looking to get as much information as we can that will kind of benefit us if we need to place you elsewhere, different opportunities become available, that kind of thing. The questions that we're asking, they are really simple, and we're just looking for you to just give a really brief overview, 250 words of one, why you want to work for Mace and why you're interested in the role. That's pretty much it. And then there is the third optional question, which you can't fill in. It's completely up to you. When it comes to answering those questions, we're just looking for genuine answers. That's all I'm looking. It's me reviewing it. It's not a robot, it is me. So when you are sitting there writing your application, copying and pasting from ChatGPT, it's very obvious when you forget to edit and it says here is a concise example of an answer for this role. So make sure you're actually triple checking your answers. Make sure it sounds like you. I think the most important thing is like, if you was in a conversation with me, could you give the same answer? And I think that really leans to our piece on integrity. It's a really big part of us. And we always say, like, just be yourself, I'm always myself. If anything, I'm actually annoying to people. But I think it's just really important to kind of be yourself, and that's, you're working with other people. You're not doing other things. So I think that's what we're really looking for. And as long as you've got somewhat of a basic understanding of what the job is that you're applying to, as long as you're not applying to project management and talking about cost consultancy, then you're pretty much good to go. And that's all we're really looking for. The one thing you'll find is you won't be able to attach a CV. That's because we don't take them for our programs. We don't find taking CVs benefits anyone. If anything, it's actually more stressful for people when they're applying. So don't need to worry about uploading a CV. We're not looking at it. From there, once you've submitted your application, it'll probably be a couple of weeks before we get back to you. But the next stage is a one-way video interview if you are successful. So you'll then get an invitation to complete a one-way video interview where 5 questions will appear on the screen. And without kind of giving too much away for them, the easiest way to kind of think about them is they line up with our values and our behaviors. So as long as you kind of know them, and you could probably sit there and think of examples that link to our values and behaviors, that's a really great way to go into the video interview. But again, I know it's really awkward and it's really strange talking to yourself, but the platform we use, you can actually blur the screen, so you don't even have to look at yourself answering the question, which is a new feature, which is really good. So you can just answer the question, give what you need. 2 minutes sounds like a lot of time. It's not. It will go by very quickly. You only get the one chance. You do get 45 seconds thinking time. Please use that time where you can. Don't skip it. Just use it and then answer your question. And again, like, it's just, why do you want to work at Mace? We're just looking for examples. So this is the point where we're really looking for you to demonstrate examples about what you've done, and what impact that kind of had. Would you do anything differently? So we always kind of recommend the STAR method, which is situation, task, action, result, reflection. That's probably the best thing to think about when going into these, and it will really help you, one, not ramble and talk on and on and on for 2 minutes and you think, oh my God, I actually didn't answer that question, but I can't go back and change it now. So it's really important, but don't talk about, oh, well, I probably would do this and I would do that, because that doesn't really mean anything. What have you done? What was the outcome? What would you do differently? I think that's really good for us to see as well. If you haven't got any examples, I know it can be quite tricky, you can draw on any experience. This can be work, school, extracurricular activities, volunteering. It really could be from anything. It doesn't always have to be about work, because not everybody does have work experience, and that's especially for apprentices as well. So just think about any school clubs that you've been in. Have you supported a year 3 class when you was those kinds of things? Like, have you done anything? So I think that's really important to remember. We're not looking for perfection. We're looking for potential and those values and behaviors. Then from that video interview, again, they all get screened by me, so there's no robots involved there. So it does take a lot of work, but we get through it. And then we move on to the assessment centre. So when it comes to the assessment centre, they are all virtual, and we will always try and aim to give people, it might be a few months between you being told that you're going to be invited to an assessment centre by the time you actually get to an assessment centre. They're all virtual, and they start from October and they go all the way to March. So for our 2024 cohort, we held 40 assessment centres. The year before that was 50. So it just depends on the number of roles available, and also like placement conversions and stuff. So we had a lot of placement conversions in our 24 cohort, so we didn't have to hold as many, which is always great. So the assessment centre is actually really good. We've changed the exercises this year and they are working out really well. It's a group exercise, an individual interview, and then an individual presentation. So again, it's really looking at the values and our behaviours and our priorities. So that's really what we're looking for in that assessment centre. I always say the worst thing you can do in a group exercise in an assessment centre is sit there and say nothing. That's probably the worst thing you can do. And I know it is really intimidating, sitting in a room full of strangers you don't know, but that is what the world of work is like. You walk in on your first day. I mean, everyone on this call who's joined Mace would have walked into a room on their first day with 100 odd people that they've never met before, and as they've said, they've kind of made connections and friends that they still talk to and everything like that. So it is really intimidating, but we'll never put people in a group of more than 6. So it's always the correct way around. Like we're giving you enough space to talk and to not participate, and we give you a phone call beforehand, run through the exercises, any adjustments that you might need, we'll give those to you, and then from that you'll find out if you're going to join us or not, and hopefully you'll say yes. And that's our recruitment process.
Well, thank you very much for that, Kira.
Sorry, that was
That
very
was a...
detailed. It's probably too much.
No, it's not
No,
too
brilliant.
detailed. That is exactly what we want to hear. And I love the fact that you've given some kind of hints and tips as to how to handle each stage as well. Because I think, like you said, it can be really daunting for people going through these stages and not knowing what to expect, especially if they haven't maybe tackled a recruitment process like this before. But there's lots of hints and tips that you've thrown out there about preparing for these types of things as well, looking at your values and behaviors, looking at, you know, your priorities, using the STAR method, you know, a lot of these things that Jess and I will talk to students about, you know, when, especially Jess, when she's delivering presentations. So that's really, really useful. And the one thing I do want to highlight is all of this information as well is available on the Gradcracker Company Hub, on the Mace Gradcracker Company Hub. We've got a full breakdown of the application process if you need any more information, which I don't think you will do. And then, you know, we've got so much information about Mace as a business as well. So that's going to be, you know, the great place for you to do the rest of your research. Geordie, you wanted to add on a point to this, I think.
Yeah, sorry, I just had a question for Kira. I'm not really sure if it's a rumor or not, but is it true that the line managers that get picked for you are tactically chosen from your assessment center?
I wouldn't say it like that, but what we say is when we book in the assessment centres, we do say to the business, like, we're really keen for the people who are going to be at that assessment centre for them to potentially be a line manager, because we think it's, again, we know it's really daunting. So we say, like, it's good for them to have a familiar face, being, oh, I met this person at the assessment centre, or I assessed them, and you come in knowing, oh, that person interviewed me and that's who I'm going to be working with. So yes, but it doesn't always happen because the assessment centres are based on people's availability within the business. People come, people go. You can't always guarantee who's going to be here. I mean, you hold an assessment centre in December, you don't know if people are still going to be here in the following September. So we do try to actively do that where we can. And some business units, it's a lot easier to do it than others where they're just a little bit smaller, whereas some business units are massive and you never know what project's going to end, what project's going to start, that kind of thing. So it really does just depend.
Oh, okay.
Great. Thank you, Kira. Thank you, Geordie. So we're going to come to find out a little bit more about your experiences of the recruitment process now. So Olivia, I'm going to start with you. How did you find the one-way video interview that Kira's just been describing, and what type of things were you asked? What advice would you give to somebody preparing for that interview?
I hadn't heard like the best things about one-way interviews. I think it can be quite daunting at the fact that you only have one go, and it seems a bit more like scary because if it was in person, you could sort of be like, oh, sorry, like, and feel like you could backtrack. But my number one piece of advice is just to treat it like it is in person. I know it is really weird to like talk to yourself, but I remember one of my questions I was asked, again, we have like 2 minutes. I said something I just like, oh, I hated that answer. So instead of just freaking out, I remember saying, sorry, could I just rephrase that? And like actually treating it like it was in person, and then gave another answer in the last like 40 seconds.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, as Kira said, take that break in the middle to sort of just like take a breather before you go into the next question. And I would definitely, again, Kira gave loads of really good advice. If you just bullet point examples that align with like Mace's values and behaviors, examples of your experiences, and just keep them out in front of you as like a bit of like a safety net. Like it's from home, so you have that option to like sort of cushion you, which is really good. And yeah, having those and like adopting some type of framework like the STAR one just ensures that you get everything covered, like the situation, the task, action, and it makes it, if you practice those, it makes it quite natural. As soon as a question comes up, you're like, right, what situation was I in when that happened? And yeah.
So just to add quickly onto Olivia's point, because people always get really freaked out when I say this. Like, I remember pretty much everyone's video interviews. I remember people's assessment centres. The worst thing you can do is go, oh my God, that was the worst answer ever, and then end the video interview because you can't change it. So if you just say, I've had people get so nervous, like I can see they're going like bright red, they're shaking, like physically shaking in the video, but just continue on. And because it's just that kind of genuine answer that you're giving, like it's not a comfortable situation to be in. It is nerve-wracking, but those people have then gone on to come and get jobs with us. So we're not looking for perfection, and the worst thing you can do is end after like 15 seconds of panicking. That's just what I just wanted to add.
Yeah.
No, I think that's great. And I think that's a really good point because, you know, you would expect to be nervous if you were in that situation. And, you know, Kira, as the person watching all of this, you know, you're not looking for people to be completely cool, calm and collected. You know, a bit of nervousness shows passion, shows they're interested, shows they care. So yeah, I think that's a really good point.
Actually, what I will say is there's a video of me before the video interview. So I got nervous filming that, if that helps. So
okay,
you have
there
to
we
listen
go.
to me for a minute and ramble on about Mace. So that's there as well.
Brilliant. So I'm gonna come quickly to Grace now. So what advice would you give to our audience before they apply to Mace?
Probably touching on what Kira and Olivia said, but really to just know Mace's values and strategies. Like, you don't have to know them like the back of your hand, but like have an idea of what they are. And if you're interested in a certain one, like actually have an experience or an accomplishment that showcases that you kind of fit in with the company. Like, I did a sustainability module at university, like designed a sustainable building, really enjoyed it. So talked about that because one of Mace's key strategies is to build a sustainable world. So it's kind of just showing that you actually like kind of intertwine with the company. So just to really think about why you should be hired, like what makes you different from everyone else, like why do you align with Mace?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Grace. Yeah, I think that's a really good one. You know, think about what you've done at university, think about any projects that you've done that would align with Mace's values or any work that they're doing, I think is a great one. So Kira, final question. What makes an application or candidate stand out to you when you're reviewing the applications or video interviews or anything?
So I think I've already touched on this, but I think it is a genuine application does help. We've received something like 7,000 applications so far, and we've not even filled our roles yet. So you can just imagine clicking onto a role, like for example, project management in a specific area, and 60% of those answers read, the reason I'd like to work at a dynamic company such as Mace, it's very obvious that you haven't written it, and it's fine. We understand some people do need some support, but I think it's just important to be genuine because you are going to get to an interview stage with a person for your assessment centre. They're going to see what you've written on paper and they're going to ask you to answer a very similar question, and it's not going to align. And I think genuine passion comes across in a way that when you're talking about something naturally, like the way everyone here has spoken, you can tell they clearly like their jobs in the ways that they've come across so naturally, able to just give examples. And I think that's really just what we're looking for. We're not looking for perfection. We're looking for people to be curious, to show they can collaborate, to be a champion. All that kind of stuff is really, really important to us.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you very much, Kira. And thank you very much to everyone for giving us such a great insight into Mace, into your work, and also into how you were successful in applying. It's been really great hearing about all the different experiences. So the recording of this webinar will be available for you to watch in full tomorrow on the Mace Gradcracker Company Hub. We'll also break this up into bite-sized highlights covering some of the key topics that we've discussed today. And remember, our employers absolutely love it when you tell them that you've watched their webinar, as they know that means you'll already have a really good understanding of their company and it shows you have a real interest in working for them. So make sure you go and get your applications in for Mace and let them know you are here today. Next week, I will be joining Carla when we meet Experian in the next Gradcracker webinar, so make sure you all get registered for that. But once again, thank you everyone for watching, and a huge thanks to our lovely panel from Mace for joining us today. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Guys, bye-bye.